Because it has different times when you want it.
What's tomorrow,
Should
Shiur?
upload it before.
Good
I'll
idea.
upload it to Wish.
But before you start recording, call me, because last time it was very fuzzy.
Right, okay, so I'll call you.
Alright, we're good?
Yes. Yehuda, you okay? No, he wants it to record it like this, if you don't tell me.
Simon, hardly Simon. Hardly Simon.
Oh, why didn't you bring whiskey, Taka?
I forgot, he's trying to get hold of something.
I should have bought.
Got biscuits. You're going to get hold of them. Shall I go home? You've worked out. You had all worked out.
I'd actually go to bring. Okay, we've got nice construction, but okay. Says the last Mishnah in Kolakim Daf Kuf Chov Vav Amud Beis. Kisui akelim sheishtem beis achiza. A cover of a pot or any keli that's got a handle, nitonin b'Shabbos. You're allowed to move them on Shabbos, not muktzah. Only if they're covering a hole in the ground of a kisui akelim, a pot, benkach or benkach, whether they have a handle, whether they don't have a handle, nitonin b'Shabbos, you're allowed to move them on Shabbos. We're describing over here, as we mentioned once before, a manhole or a lid of a very big pot. The problem is that it looks a bit like binyan v'stira, like building and destroying when the person builds and takes down. So therefore, if it's got a handle, everybody can see that it is not part of the building and therefore it's okay. If it doesn't have a handle, then people are chayshish and it looks like building. And the more explains, that the pot lid can be used as a keli. Let's just see this Rashi, because it's like a very big chiddush, this Rashi. Tosfos argues. If you look, it's the second to last Rashi in our perek. Rashi says, the pot lid can be used for something else. Rashi explains that the pot, lid of a pot, if it cannot be used for other things, it can't be used for other purposes, then it's not a keli. It's like a broken stone, which we said is muktzah. So therefore, it has to be usable for something else. If you look in the top Tosfos, it's an earlier Tosfos, but we're discussing this point. And Tosfos says, the top Tosfos. And Tosfos asks the kasha, and it means, Rashi says we're talking about where you can use the lid of the pot for something else. Asks Tosfos, why would you want to use it for something else? The fact that it's a lid of a pot, that itself should be enough that it should be a keli. Answers Tosfos, we're talking about where you took a stone and you put it on top of a pot to use that as a lid. Now then, since it wasn't really made as a lid, so then it's only not muktzah if it can actually be used for something else. But a normal lid, of course, being a lid is enough. What? Okay, you put what you attach to it, a handle. That's not the kasha. It's just the Svor Vash is very hard to understand. The fact that it's a lid pot is not enough. A pot lid is not enough to make the keli. Right. So, but if you can't be used for anything else, so then since it's not really made as a lid, therefore it's muktzah. Says it more like this: the kuli alma kisuka kois. If it's something on the floor, let's say, for example, we said, let's say you've got a manhole which is on the floor. And if it's got a handle, you're allowed to move it. If not, not, because otherwise it looks like building on Shabbos. Kisuya kelim. If it's a lid of a pot, and if it's got no handle, if you've got a lid of a pot, it's okay. We talk about an oven or a keli which is attached to the floor. That means the problem over here is, does it look like you're building? When you take a lid of a pot off, nobody thinks you're building. When you take something from the ground which doesn't have a handle and it's a proper lid, let's say the cover of a well, you take off the cover, everybody thinks that you're building. You take it off, everybody thinks you're knocking down. You put it back on, it looks like you're building. So then you have to have a handle. The machloikas between Rabbi Yossi and the Tanna Kama is regarding a big oven or a big keli which is attached to the ground. And the question is, does the fact that it's big and attached to the ground make it bottled to the ground, and therefore by adding a lid, it is considered like it looks like you're building or not? That means if you've got a very, very big oven, right, a built-in oven, and it's got a lid, and you take the lid down and up, does that look like building or not? So Yossi says, no, it doesn't look like building. And the Kama says, yes, it does. So then it's again, everybody should make Mazenis maybe. Yes, everybody should make Mazenis now. I think it's correct to do it now, yes. Now everybody could take a Mazenis, or should we wait till the end? What do you think?
Depends when it's like this. Got it.
Okay. So I'm saying just make a Mazenis now, and then afterwards, if there's a L'chaim comes up, can you take this? Yeah. Mazel Tov Andrew, Mazel Tov Yehuda. I'm sorry we can't send you a biscuit via Zoom. But Mazel Tov anyway. It's good.
Mazel Tov.
Also, ich take one from your okay. We speak a block loud, at least we get a chance to tell me, no? We had, what's the word for it? I was waiting for Minye Shmirabo. We had to get more about Minye Shmirabo. Oh. Have you been singing Minye Shmirabo very, very loud?
Since that, not as loud as.
We have to say B'chol Kirche. You have to say with all your strength. Very good. Shkirch. Okay, Mazel Tov. I appreciate it. Right. Yes, there's a thing not to make tzchok, yeah. Okay. Says the Mishnah. Mefanin. Oh. This book discusses Tilcha. Tilcha is a hardest topic because the problem with Tilcha is it's not so clearly cut what's considered Tilcha and what's not considered Tilcha. Chazal didn't want people to do an extra Tilcha on Shabbos because it's a certain chison of covered Shabbos, Menuchas Shabbos. So Mishnah says like this: Mefanin, you're allowed to clear away after Abba v'chomish kupay shel teven v'shel tvum mipnei oichim mipnei bitu beis medrash. Imagine you've got guests or you've got a shiur, and the room is full of jugs, bottles of Coca-Cola. Oh, or you can imagine, room full of bottles of Coca-Cola. The problem is you want to give a shiur. So the halacha is you're allowed to move 4 or 5 boxes, but not more. Or the more discusses how many exactly. Or if you've got a shiur, or you've got guests, you've got people coming to stay by you, so you want to clear out your loft, so you're allowed to. But you're not allowed to clear away an oitza. An oitza is a storage area which is made for storing things for long term. The Mishnah carries on. We're now going to discuss certain things which are not muktzah. What are they? Mefanin truma tahira. Truma which is Torah is not muktzah. Truma which is Tomei is muktzah. Why is truma which is Tomei muktzah? Can't use, can't eat it. V'demai, what's demai? Demai is something you buy from Am Oretz, so you don't know if it's taken truma or ma'ases from. You're allowed to move that. It's not muktzah. What happens is the Levi gets Maisa, 10%, and from that he has to give 1/10 of that to the Kohen. So you're allowed to, that is not Muktzah. That being redeemed. But we're going to discuss quite a lot of different herbs in this parak. I looked in art school, and most of them they don't even bother translating. It's not easy to translate because most of them we don't really know what they are. And even if you were to find the right English word, I'm not convinced that you would help understand. Tumus is a kind of vegetable which is bitter. If they shumacha le'izim, goats eat it, and since goats eat it, therefore there's no problem with muktzah. Avaloyis teva, not something which is teva, which tumus ha'ma'isa haven't been taken. Avaloyis ma'isa shaloi nitlo to moso. Avaloyis ma'isa shaloi niftu that not being redeemed. Avaloyis ha'loif, not loif, a kind of herb. Avaloyis ha'chal that are not mustard. Shungam mate baloif v'shumachal oivin. The ravens eat loif. I think more discusses what the machlokas is. Chavide kash, bundles of straw, the chavide eitzim of wood or twigs, the chavide zodim and reeds, in the skin on the machal, behemo, if it's for animal food, metal, no, it's not muktzah. The mlav, if it's not animal food, so what is it for? It is for firewood. So in metal, no, so it's muktzah. So the Mishnah tells us 3 separate halachas. What are the 3 separate halachas? The first halacha discusses tilcha on Shabbos, that you're allowed to move boxes for the purpose of having guests or for shiurim. The second set of halachas in our Mishnah is discussing certain food, which trumas amaisus, etc. And then we'll discuss what's the chiddush in each case, that some of them are muktzah, some are not muktzah, depending if you've done the correct procedure. And the last part of the Mishnah is that something which is prepared for animal food is not muktzah. Something which is prepared for firewood is muktzah. So the Gemara asks the kasha, many times people say, we had a teacher who used to say, take 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and we used to laugh because that's a very random number. Because there's, like he would always list, long list of numbers. Remember you had Mr. Murphy, it was old Goy, Mamash anti-Semitic Goy. That's how he always used to speak. We used to have him as a teacher. We used to, what happened was, when you say a number, you've got to be specific. Sometimes people say 10 or 12. You don't say take 10, 20, 30. It doesn't make sense. The Gemara asks now the Mishnah, which is Tanoim, you have to be exact. The Mishnah says you can take 4 or 5 boxes, only 4 or 5 boxes. If you can take 5, of course 4, don't tell me 4. And you can only take 4, why 5? So Omar Rav Chisda, the Gemara gives 2 answers to this question. The first test is from Rav Chisda. Arba michomesh, you'll have to take 4 when there's only 5 boxes. And this are the brackets. V'chomesh moitza godol. That means if there's only 5 boxes, take 4. If there's a huge amount, take 5. You mustn't start on the storehouse. That means when you put away something in the storehouse, what you're showing is that you want it to be for a long term. You don't want to be using it at the moment. Since you don't want to be using it at the moment, therefore it's muktzah, and therefore you're not allowed to move it at all. The Issa of Tircha comes from the fact that Chazal made an Issa D'Rabbanan of Tircha on Shabbos because they felt it was a chisan of covered Shabbos for a person to be Tirach for no reason. There's many we're going to see, as I said, it's not so muktzah, but it's quite, yeah. So again, so Chisda says 4, 5. 4 if there's only 5. 5 if it's a lot. But don't start in a new storehouse, meaning that if you've got something stored up, let's say you're a wholesaler, and you put away cans of Coke for hot selling. So that's muktzah, it's been set aside. The Shmuel Omar, Abba v'chomesh, top of Kuchov Zanu Adalev, Kedomin, Shi, V'boya Afilu Tuva Nami. And the way the Rishonim explain is like this. They say, you take the least possible. That means you've got guests, you've got a shiur. So you have to clear away, but don't clear away more than you absolutely have to. So if 4 is enough, clear away 4. If 4 is not enough, you need more, there's not enough space, so clear away 5. If it's necessary, you can even take away more than 5. He says you're not allowed to clear out an entire room. What's someone clearing out an entire room? When you clear out an entire room, you suddenly notice, especially in olden days with that earthenware floors, so suddenly you notice that the floor is not straight. When you've got a lot of things in the room, you don't notice it so much. So therefore, he holds the Issa is not to start because the Gemara carries on. Again, sorry, you're allowed to start. Shimon holds there's no problem on muktzah. Since there's no problem on muktzah, there's no problem to start. The problem is only finishing. If you clear out the whole room, what you'll end up doing is you'll say, oh, this room is not straight, and you'll come to straighten out the room. Shein came one who's got lots of stuff inside, you don't notice it. Again, the Mishnah says 4 or 5. We've got 2 completely different malachim. The first malach is of Chisda, which actually we do not paskin like, who says you're only allowed to do 4 from a room which has 5 from a bigger room, and not allowed to start because of muktzah. We pass like the second teretz, that you're allowed to start. There's no problem with muktzah. The problem is only finishing. Now, why is the problem of finishing not to do with muktzah? The problem is to do with the fact that you might come to flatten the floor. When you see you clear out all the furniture, suddenly the floor is not straight. And why did Mishnah say 4 or 5? Because you should always clear out the least possible. If 4 is enough, clear out 4. If 5 is enough, clear out 5. If you need more, you can do even more than 5. Says the Gemara Brisa on a similar note. You're not allowed to begin with a storehouse. You're allowed to walk through it. Let's say you've got a big pile of grain. You're allowed to walk through it to make yourself a path to get in and out. Make a path. You're not allowed to touch it. It's muktzah. If you need to go in and out, you're allowed to walk through your piles of grain, and then by walking through, automatically there'll be a pathway. I mentioned to you many times, and it's a very fascinating machlokes Mishnah and Chazon Ish, and the person very busy with it. What's the machlokes Mishnah and Chazon Ish? That let's say, for example, you've got a phone on the floor which is very precious to you, and you're scared that your child will touch it, so you want to kick it underneath the couch, right? Mutter also says the Mishnah. Mutter. Why is it mutter? The Gemara says that you're not allowed to go into your storehouse. It's muktzah. But you're allowed to walk through it. Is a raya that you're allowed to kick muktzah, because when you walk through, you're definitely going to kick the grain. Says Chazon Ish, absolutely not. You're not allowed to kick your phone. Why? When you kick the phone, your action is one of kicking the phone. That is an action where you're trying to move muktzah. Trying to move muktzah, that's forbidden even karachiyat. Here, you're walking through. In the process of walking through, it happens to be that muktzah is moved. But when your intention is to move the muktzah, it is forbidden. It's a very ancient machlokes, comes up a very lot. And the Chazon Ish Gahul Avichos, that is a chilek, it comes out very big chumah. Sometimes I've done it in the past on Shabbos, so I've got something very precious. Or more likely, what happens is, let's say my child's got a toy which makes a noise, right? And it's a little child, doesn't know anything about muktzah, takes it out of the cupboard, and in playing it is making music on Shabbos afternoon. So what do? I kick it underneath the freezer, underneath the couch. Now, according to the Chazon Ish, that wouldn't be good because it's still too klachiyat. Only there you could have another heter that those who hold that a toy that makes noise is not actually a kiddush rach to this, that's kiddush rach to the heter, since you can play with it without it making noise. But this is a shail in the poskim, or you're allowed to kick muktzah and such as. Says the Gemara, towards tzvur, piled grain. Because man shis chava me'erev Shabbos, if you started using it on Friday, mutter start going to Shabbos. If you never started using it on Shabbos, also start going to Shabbos. And what's the logic? It's obvious. The logic is that if you started using it on Friday, it's no longer muktzah. But if you haven't used it on Friday, your intention is obviously to set it aside, so it's muktzah. Divrei Rab Shimon. Rab Acha which way around is it facing? Meaning, we always know that Rab Shimon is the one who's meikol in muktzah. And over here, you're saying that Rab Shimon's machmir and Rab Acha's meikol. Doesn't make sense. Rab Shimon is the one who's meikol. Rab Acha's machmir, Rab Shimon matir. Tana, we learned in the Brisa, kamashir towards savur. How much does grain have to be piled in order that somebody should consider it less, set aside lesser? How much is a lesser? It's half a kur, which is 15 saw. A saw is approximately how much? Is about 146 eggs. So you're talking about equivalent, 15 times 150 is about 2,500 eggs in volume. That is considered a big pile of grain, which you're setting aside. And if you don't start on Friday, it's a sign that you want to make it muktzah. And I think most is exactly the same thing, just in Amiroim, not to know. How much does it have to be piled up? They said already it's a lesser, and that's the shiur. Now, our Mishnah told us that you're allowed to take 4 or 5 boxes, and the reason is because of turcha. Now, what would you suggest? Let's say instead of taking 4 or 5 boxes, what you do is you split the boxes in half, and you take it in 10 strips, and each time only take half a box. Would you say that's better or worse, or the same? You're saying the same. You're saying it's worse, more trips. You could say it's better, less effort every time. You're saying it's the same. But you're doing more steps. That's what Shai is saying. The more discuss this. The Abba v'chomesh kupis end, you have to take them in 4 or 5 boxes. Tfeiloi. If we try our best to minimize the amount you walk, or they're minimizing the amount of effort, the amount of weight. Toshima. One Bryce says you're allowed to move 4 or 5 boxes of jugs of wine and oil. The other Bryce says 10, 15. One Bryce says 5, one Bryce says 10, 15. This is the machlokes. The first Bryce says 5 means only 5. You're not allowed to split it individually, and therefore you can only do it 5. If the other mandamar holds, no. At the end of the day, we prefer you to do it in 10 trips, because by doing it in 10 trips, what you'll do is you'll carry less every time. Says, well, look, that's not the machlek. It's the kulam in mutabilocha odif. You have to walk the least possible. We're not talking about the boxes. We're talking about jugs. That means one vice which says 5 is set outside. It's talking about 5 boxes when each box is only 1 jug because each jug is so big that you're forced to put only 1 jug in a box. The next vice says 10, 15 is talking about jugs which are smaller, that you can fit either 2 jugs in a box and it's 10, or 3 jugs in a box and then it's 15. That means you're only allowed to do 5 trips, no more. And therefore, the vice says 5 is talking about when you've only got 5 big jugs. The vice says 10 or 15 is talking about either you've got smaller jugs or very small jugs where you can fit 3 inside. But everybody agrees you're only allowed to do 5 and no more. You're not allowed to do more. We don't want you to go back and forth to do loads of trips. Says it's not a contradiction. The first vice is talking about where you can only fit 1 jug in the box. But the second price, which says 10, that you can fit 2 in the box, it's 10. Oh, you're going to ask me, is it such a small jug that you can fit 3 of them in the box? Mo says, yes. If you ever go to a place called Panya, the summer holidays, you'll find the jugs there are very small, and you can fit 3 inside the box. So therefore, indeed, you're only allowed to do 5 trips and no more. You can't do more than that. Says, well, boiler another shaila. Hani abu chamesh to come after the isle oichin tuva, udima kule fi oichin. That, that's the most question. That's exactly the most question. Are we talking about that the maximum Chazal ever permitted you was 4 or 5 or no more? Or if that's only if you've got a limited amount of guests, 4 or 5. If you've got a lot of guests, and according to this, you'd be allowed 4 or 5 per guest. And then, that's what Tesis says. What? Yeah, then it'll be more Turka, yes. If you look at the third Tesis, that says, that means like this, you're allowed 4 or 5 per person. That means is 4 or 5 the maximum, or is 4 or 5 per person? So the word says, and if you say you're allowed to do more if you've got more guests, one person, take it for everybody. Or each person is only allowed to do. Did we limit each person's effort? One person allowed to do 4 or 5 boxes. Or do we say that one person is allowed to clear for everybody? That's the question. Can one person make the effort for everybody? The Rishonim say when the Gemara says that every person has to work for themselves, it doesn't mean literally for themselves. I can clear for you, you can clear for me. In fact, I remember once reading that there was once a Rebbe who said to his children, it was a beautiful summer's day. We had that a few weeks ago. I think we forgot what it's like. He said to the boys, let's learn outside today. Right? So everybody picked up the chair and went outside. He said to them, it's a pity. If each boy would have picked up his friend's chair, we would have all been mechanics of chesed instead of each person just taking for themselves. But I said, it doesn't mean that each person is allowed to take for themselves. What means over here is that is each person limited to one person's exertion, or can one person work for everybody? So more says like this. He went to a place where he saw there was a very squashed place. Sodom Le'oimim was full of piles. The word immer means to make bundles, but over here it means to clear. And it's the same shirish. Why? When you make a bundle, you're clearing a lot of mess because you're gathering it all together. So Rebbe gathered everything together into one corner and then cleared the field. So you see over here that he did a lot more than 4 or 5 boxes. And the Morkai is on. Is a right that if you have more guests, you're allowed to do more than 4 or 5. The first question we answered that you're allowed to do more if you have more guests. But the second question is, can one person do it all himself? Or is each person limited in the amount of effort? Says the Gemara, that question we haven't answered. Says, well, yes, we have Toshma, Rebbe. Rebbe did it. It's mashma, the Rebbe did it to himself. Rebbe didn't have She'imah. Do you think Rebbe did it himself? He was the Nasi. Rebbe wouldn't have done such a thing. And the Tziv of Imah, each person does it for himself. And that's how we pass it. If you've got more guests, you're allowed to clear much, much more. But one person shouldn't do it all, because indeed it's a lot of work, and therefore one person should make sure to get other people to help. You can't just do it all completely yourself. Says the Gemara that the Mishnah told us you're allowed to clear boxes. Why? for the guests or for learning? It says the Gemara, inviting guests is as important as going to learn. Why? It says, it says either or, it's mashma, they're both equal. That guests are even more important than going to learn. Why? It says first guests and then bittul beis hamedrash. So got over here is learning as important as having guests, or is guests more important than learning? I just say two very interesting halves. One is from the Todas Yaakov Yosef. The Todas Yaakov Yosef was written by Yaakov Yosef Polonia. He was the first Hasidic sefer to be written. Can you imagine the very first Hasidic sefer to be written? He was a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. And he said that he once said the Baal Shem Tov learning this more. Baal Shem Tov asked the Kasha, I don't understand. Can't you learn while you're having guests? He says, Elamai, we talk about the kind of people that don't want to talk in learning. They want to talk to you about the weather, and they want to talk to you about the nonsense. And the chiddush of this Gemara is that even such guests are more important than learning. That's what he said. But even more interesting for me, at least, is that there's a true sefer Minchas Yehuda, and one year the government made a ban on wheat. They made wheat. They put up the price of wheat a very lot somewhere in Russia. And the question he had was, is it better to spend extra on the wheat for matzahs on Pesach, or can he buy the cheaper barley and make matzahs out of barley? That was his question. Should he pay extra for the wheat and buy wheat matzahs, or should he just pay less and buy the barley matzahs? So he said it depends on the Gemara on Daf Shabbos Kufchavos. Our Gemara depends on this Gemara. Can anybody work out how it depends on this Gemara? It's very hard. I got such pleasure from the Chap. He says like this, that the Gemara V'Hizgal Machlokes is learning to as important having guests, or is having guests more important? What does it depend on? Is the Mishnah puts guests, then learning. The fact the Mishnah puts it in that order, one person says is a raya, that obviously guests is more important, because if guests was just, if the other one was more important, you put it the other way around. So the order of the Mishnah is telling you which way is more important. Now, when it comes to the Mishnah in Pesachim, it says you can make matzahs out of wheat, barley, spelt, rye, and oats. If you hold, like the man Omar, that whatever comes first in the Mishnah is more important, so obviously the Mishnah there is telling us that wheat is more important than rye and oats than barley, and therefore you have got to pay extra because it's more important. But if you hold that there's no difference in order, like the first man Omar, that it just says they're both equal, so there's no reason to spend extra on barley. And he says, the Maisa we paskin, that the order of the Mishnah does matter, and therefore you have to pay extra on your wheat matzahs. So if the government put a tax on wheat, we would have to pay more to get wheat matzahs, because at the end of the day, that comes first in the Mishnah. Okay, just interesting. Yeah. Oh, that's the cash. The Mishnah could have put them in one word. Right? You have to say okay. It says it more like this. Now that we talked about guests, we'll carry on about guests. It's even more important than greeting Hashem. The Chsev in Parshas Vayevo, what happened was Hashem came to Avraham Avinu to visit him after Bris Milah because he was not well. And Avraham Avinu said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please wait for me while I deal with the guests. So what do we see? That speaking to Hashem is less important. How Hashem is much, much more gentle than a human being. Have you ever imagined a little person telling a king, wait for me, I've got something to do? The king would get very annoyed. So I'm not going to wait for you. Here, Avraham says to Hashem, hold on a second, I've got to get busy with the guests. Avraham tells Hashem to wait. Can you imagine such a thing? You get to pleasure in this world and the fruit of the next world. So Chazal says, just like in the fruit tree, that it doesn't lose anything. When you pull off a fruit, the tree doesn't become smaller. All the schar you get in this world does not diminish whatsoever the reward that you get in the next world for all of these things. And what are they? Means kavona and davening. Coming to shul early. All these things are is that so? These things, but now we have a different Mishnah. It says, chesed, peace, and Talmud Torah. We've got a contradiction. Rabbi Yechon gives us one list, and the Mishnah tells us a different list. Answers the Gemara Daf Kuf Zayin based off of the page. Hani nami behani shaychi. These things are the same as these things. That means if you're working through the Rabbi Yechon's list, it's actually just an elaboration of the list of the Mishnah. For example, the Mishnah says Gemilus chasadim, kindness. So Rabbi Yechon elaborates what's kindness. Achnosas orchim, bikur cholim, and then when it comes to Talmud Torah, so he elaborates, going to shul, bringing up your children, Talmud Torah. So Rabbi Yechon is just an elaboration of the Mishnah. He's not arguing. The things which Rabbi Yechon said are just an explanation of the thing. The Rambam Pirush Mishnayos and Peos is a very, what we would call it, very Litvish Torah. He says like this. He says, why are these mitzvahs unique? What's special about them? He says, what's special about these mitzvahs are that these mitzvahs are mitzvahs which create goodness in the world. They make the world a better place. And when a person makes an effort to make the world a better place, Akash rewards him that his world should be a better place as well. That's what the Rambam says in Pirush Mishnayos. Now we have a very long Amud, all about, most of it about Don Lechapschus, and it's quite a light, famous quote. I don't have a Lechapschus, a person judges somebody else's favorably. Don Lechapschus, we judge him favorably. There was a story about the person, and the Kivega tells us it was Rabbi Akiva, the great Rabbi Akiva, before he became a Talmud Chacham. Shiur, he went down from the north, the Golil, he became a worker for the south. Shalish worked for 3 years straight. Every Kippurim and every Kippur, let me go home and support my wife and children. 3 years of work, I want to get my wages. I've got no money to pay you. Okay, if you've got no money, give me fruit. I've got no fruit. Give me some property. I've got no property. Give me hands. Give me pillows or blankets. I don't have. He slung his clothes over his shoulders. That this person went home dejectedly, all disappointed that he worked for 3 years, he earned nothing. After Sukkot, not a balbai, he took his wages. Took 3 donkeys, one full of food, one full of drink, and one full of fruit. Then he paid him. When I said to you, I've got no money, but my chashlatani, what did you think of me? I'm a liar, probably. No. He said, he said, I thought maybe you got a cheap business deal and you spent all your money on a business deal, so you had no ready cash. Give me animals, and you said, I said, I've got no animals. What did you be choshed me? Maybe you rented out all the animals to other people's employment, and therefore you can't give me animals. When I said I've got no property, and you saw that I've got loads of property, what did you think? Maybe it was leased to other people. In old days, they used to lease property where the worker would get a portion of the grain and give the owner the rest. So since it's leased, it doesn't belong to the owner. Why did you think no fruit? Maybe there's no tumus. You don't give fruit without tumus taken to somebody in case you might come to eat it. Now I said I've got no clothes or blankets. Maybe it was makdish everything to Hashem. That's what it was. Now before I explain that every part of the story over here was all true. That means the fields were leased, the animals were rented, the ready money was invested. What? Yes. So before she explained that what happened was it was a sudden stop of work. It wasn't something that he had planned ahead. Others say that no, that what happened was only the last answer, that he had been makdish, everything was true, and it was in the spur of the moment thing, as the more explains. My son wasn't learning, and I didn't want my son to benefit from any of my property. So what I did was I put all my property in hekdesh in order that my son shouldn't gain anything out of it, and that's why I couldn't pay you. Just like we don't have schus, you also have to, Hashem should be done you have schus. Rabbi Yunus says, from here we see that you mechuyev to don't have schus, even if it's extremely unlikely. Even if it's extremely unlikely, a person has to be done have schus. There's a real discount in Parshas Kedoshim, which I always get. He's very, very meich, and I'll tell you the synopsis of his idea. And he says that Bidon Lechav Schus is from the Ikka part of Yiddishkeit. And he says the following mashal. It's a very simplified mashal. Imagine a town with an old village with only 20 Yiddish families living there. All keep all the mitzvahs, everybody intertwined, everybody living together. One day, one of them wants to start walking around, let's say, being Mechal Shabbos. Would it be easy for him or not? Says about this can, of course, be very, very hard. A person has a natural busha. The Choshen Avos says most of the reason we keep the mitzvahs is because of natural busha. We're too embarrassed to do our bits. So for him to start being Mechal Shabbos would be very, very difficult. If the Yitzhak is very, very strong, he'll be overcome, he'll do it. For the second family to Mechal Shabbos, would it be easier? Tiny bit easier. Because since one person's done it, it's easier. By the time the majority of the town is being Mechal Shabbos, then for the next people not there to be Mechal Shabbos, it's dead easy. In fact, if there's only a few people keeping Shabbos, it actually becomes a little bit embarrassing to keep Shabbos. So whenever a person does an Aveiv, a person walks into shul late, the reality is he's making it easier for every single person in the world to walk in shul late. On some tiny level, obviously. If we were to be done Lechav Schus, the very first person who was Mechal Shabbos, say, the reason Mechal Shabbos was because his wife had to go to hospital, she's having a baby. Would it be easier for the second one to Chashav? No, so he's lost the whole easiness because he had no choice for Shabbos. So by being done Lechav Schus, if somebody walks into shul late, and you're done Lechav Schus, you're elevating the whole of Klal Yisrael. Because now you're saying that Klal Yisrael really haven't fallen at all. And he says, therefore, a person, in fact, actually, by being done Lechav Schus, changes the entire side. I just say very, very briefly one other point. Just give me two chizuk. There was once a couple that decided to go to a restaurant to eat out together. There's a very special event. The Chalmuk used to hold that couple should do it all the time. They go there, they see a very old couple sitting next to them nearby a table, and they're not getting served. No waiters are coming to them. Nobody, while they're being offered the bread rolls, nobody goes up to them. While they're being offered the jug of water, drinks, l'chaims, nothing. And every course, the old man hobbles along on his cane, goes into the kitchen, gets something to eat, and brings it to his table, a jug of water, and they're getting more and more worked up. The whole meal, they can't even enjoy it. They come eventually at the end of the meal, he walks up to the owner, finds him in the kitchen, someone says to him, you should know, this is the last time I'm eating in your place. If this is how you can treat all the people, okay, they don't spend so much money. He says, however upset you are, I'm more upset. That the person looks, says, these are my parents. They eat here every night. And what happens is, I've told them a million times, they get tremendous pleasure to see how my business is thriving. I've told them a million times, they don't pay me, because I think, but they say on condition they'll only eat here for free if I don't let the waiter serve them, because they don't want to take away from my business. I've told them a million times it won't affect their business because I've got enough waiters so they can serve them. But that's their condition. They eat every night here. They get tremendous pleasure to see them enjoy the food. They get a nice meal, and they get tremendous pleasure to see how my business is doing well. But on condition that I don't let anybody serve them. It's the only way they'll come, so I've got no choice. It's just an interesting story how when you read it, I read it I said it to you very bekitza. You can get yourself very, very worked up. And that Maisa, there are many times a person has to be done Lechav Schus. A person thinks it's impossible to Lechav Schus. But it's not true, there's always. And here we see a very extreme case where there was a person over here that he saw a multi-millionaire person, and the person comes up to him with all kinds of excuses. I've got no food, I've got no money, I've got no property, I've got no animals. And he was done Lechav Schus. There was a chassid. A chassid is a Yehuda ben Eloi, usually. That, and some say it's a Yehuda ben Bava. Okay. He redeemed a young Yiddish girl, Basti Sol. When he came to the hotel, he made her sleep by his feet. The next day, he went to Teva, the Shona, the Tamidim, then he taught his Tamidim in Teva. What did you think when I took her into my room? We thought maybe there's one of the Tamidim is not good, is somebody which the Rebbe is not confident that he won't do anything to this girl, and that's why he took her to your room. What did you think that went to make? We probably thought that had relations with that because of the exhaustion of the way, Kerry came out, and therefore that's why we went to make her, not because we were nichshel ba'aveh. The person's done other people lechav schus, Hashem has done them lechav schus. There was a big, important noblewoman who was also at the same time everybody would go there for znus. Everybody would go there for znus. And what happened was, she was a very, very important lady, which they would go to for znus, and they needed to go somebody to talk to her. Amu mi yelech, who should go and talk to her? Amu Rabbi Shua ani yelech, Shua said, I will go. When he came to the entrance, he took his tefillin off. He went in, he locked the door. Once he left, he went to the Tovel and then taught his Talmidim, which is very suspicious. It sounds like he did some aveya. Why did, when I took off my tefillin, what did you think about me? That you thought that Divrei Kedusha, like tefillin, shouldn't come in a mokum tomei, like this kind of woman. When I locked the door, what did you think? No, maybe it's a private matter, and since it's a private matter, so therefore you didn't want anybody to come in. So the Mefarshim asked the kasha, what about Issa Yichud? You're not allowed to do Yichud with a Goyish woman. So some say that she had her servants in the room, so there was no problem of Yichud. Others say that there's different stages in which someone will do it in Kedushin when they made Issa Yichud, right? Issa Yichud was in the Natir, was only by Eishes Ish. Though the Melech came and made Issa Yichud on all women, even all Yiddish women. The Chashmonoim came along and made Issa Yichud on all non-Jewish women as well. So it could be that Rabbi Shua's time, the Gezeh of Yichud on Goyish woman was not yet accepted. He felt he needed to because he needed, it was an important matter. Allah is all non-Jewish people are considered Zovim and Zovis. Does anybody remember why? No. We had it in Shabbos. As the reason is we don't want anybody to come near with them, to spend time with them, because they are Chosh and Mishkam Zocho, and therefore we don't want to spend time with them. So therefore they made all men and women of Goyim, Zovim and Zovis. So therefore if a spit from a Zovo goes on that person, then he has to table. So that's why he was scared that maybe when she talked to him, so that's the time the spit comes out, so therefore that's why he went to Mikvah. Just like you are for the schus, Hashem should judge you favorably as well. Now we're going back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah tells us a list of things that you're allowed to move which are not muktzah, and a list of things which are muktzah. And every time the Gemara is going to ask the kasha, that anything which is permitted to eat, of course, is not muktzah. Anything which is forbidden to eat, of course, is muktzah. So why does the Mishnah need to tell me this list? What's the chiddush? So the Mishnah says, you're allowed to take Tumah Torah. Pshita, of course, Tumah Torah is partial. It's in the hands of a Yid. Since a Yid can't eat it, only a Kohen is allowed to eat it. Also, so let's say I'm Yisrael, right? I'm not allowed to eat Tumah. So if I've got Tumah in my house on Shabbos, is it muktzah? The answer is no. Why? Because a Kohen is allowed to eat it. Therefore, the fact that I can't eat it does not make it muktzah. But Mai says, which is Sophic, where you buy it from Namaoretz, and you don't know if you took Tumah Samaisras, so you're allowed to say, well, it says, you're not allowed to eat the Mai without taking Tumah Samaisras, so Shri Muktzah. As well, give it the Beri Mafkin and Nichsi. So therefore it is fitting for him. I mean, since if a person would be mafke everything he owned to become poor, he'd be allowed to eat it. So therefore, for poor people, it is chosu. Therefore, it's not muktzah. There's now machin sahanim demai. There's achsanya demai. Achsanya is referring to armies who would come into town and the Yidden would have to feed them. So you're allowed to feed them demai because Chazal did not want to impose too much of a burden. It's important that halachas, people should be aware that all medicine is actually muktzah. Because at the end of the day, you're not allowed to eat medicine on Shabbos. But if you've got somebody in the house that needs the medication, let's say your wife or child is taking medication, then it's not muktzah for you. What's the raya? Either from this poor man or from tumah. When at the end of the day, I can't eat tumah, but it's not muktzah because a kohen can eat tumah. So if as long as there's somebody who can eat it, it is not muktzah. No, if nobody in the family is going to eat the medication, then it is muktzah. He said he might get not well, and then we'll need it. No, because a kohen, you know there's kohenim in the shtot. You know there's kohenim around. Here, you don't know anybody that needs it. The Shabbos Pascha is that the medicine is muktzah. Says the Gemara, "V'ma avodah toda v'shamayim ein machilin sanim d'mai v'sachsan d'mai v'shamayim you're not allowed to." We say, "No, machilin sanim d'mai v'sachsan d'mai." We say, "Yes, you are allowed to feed the poor and the armies that come to you. You're allowed to feed them d'mai." So far we said two things. Truma, what's the chiddush? Even though only their kohen's allowed to eat it. D'mai, even though only the poor, because everybody's got the potential to become poor. So let's go. This could come up a few times. Let's get it very clear. Normally, the correct thing to do after you've done bikurim is to take truma. Truma is a 40th, 50th, or 60th, which you give to a kohen. After that, you take maisa, which is 10%. We give that to the Levi. The Levi then gives 10% of his 10%, which is actually 1% of the total, to the kohen. Now, what happens if the Levi came quickly and he took the produce before you had a chance of giving truma to the kohen? What is the din? Do we say the Levi has to give 10% of what he has because of trumas ma'isa, plus the truma which you never took? Does he have to do that? We say no. His job was to take 10th of a 10th. That he's doing. It's too late. The truma is gone. It's too bad. That is the question over here. What would you say? So it depends when the Levi came. If the Levi came before the chiyuv of truma was chal, since the chiyuv of truma wasn't chal, so therefore I say to myself, there was no chiyuv truma. He took it, so nobody has to give truma. The kohen loses that. I didn't take truma. There was no time to take truma. Wasn't yet the chiyuv truma wasn't yet chal. The Levi took it before. The Levi doesn't need to give it. Nobody gives truma. But if he took it after there was a chiyuv of truma, that means already the chiyuv of truma was there, and then he took ma'isa before I had a chance to take truma. Then he has to take the truma because I was mechuyev, so the chiyuv is there. When is the chiyuv of truma chal? What's called dogon. Dogon, actually, I find it hard. I always find is when you make the produce into a pile. That was the last final stage of it being ready to be eaten. When it's ready to that stage, then it is called dogon, and then it's a chiyuv truma. And if a Levi comes after that, then he has to take, not only he has to take 10% because of the trumas ma'isa, he also has to take the 40th, 50th, and 60th of the produce because of the truma, which you never took. So the Gemara discusses all these cases. So ma'isa v'shel shlita truma v'chulu. Ma'isa v'shel, which is truma, was taken pshita. Of course it's good. Why should we muktzah? The Levi took trumas ma'isa. Lo tzricha shekdima b'shibonim. He came when it was still stalks. We're not talking about trumas ma'isa. We're not talking about truma gedola. We're talking about when the Levi came, and he came very early. And he took the Lemaisa, and he then afterwards gave Trumas Maisa to the Kohen, but he never gave Truma to the Kohen. Maisa Vishim, which you took very early, part of it to a Gedola. Shnema Vamisman Trumas Hashem, Maisa Maisa. Maisa Maisa, I told you to take Trumas Maisa, below Truma Gedola Trumas Maisa Maisa. I told you to take Maisa Maisa, and not Truma and Maisa. So from this pasuk we dash that a Levi does not need to take Trumas Maisa. If he came at a later stage, when it was already a kri, it was already a pile, and the Levi then took Maisa, we should also say that he should be part from Truma. From all your presents, you have to give Truma. So you see that you do have to give Truma. It's got one pasuk that says you do have to give Truma, and one pasuk says you don't have to give Truma. So therefore, God says, why did you say the pasuk that the Levi is mechuyev to give Truma? Is referring to when he took it after was chayav truma, and the one which says not is when he took it before. Maybe it's the other way around. So the one says when there was a dogon, when they already got into a pile, and therefore it's got a chiyuv dogon. So then afterwards the Levi took it. So then he has to take truma and trumas ma'isa, because by the time the Levi took it, it was already chayav truma. So therefore it's chayav both. But if he took it before there was a chiyuv truma, so then he's not mechuyev to take trumas ma'isa. So again, when the Mishnah tells us that if a Levi has got ma'isa and he took from the ma'isa trumas ma'isa, it's not muktzah. The chiddush of the Mishnah is where he took trumas ma'isa, but he never took truma, and neither did the original owner take truma. And you might have thought, therefore, it should be muktzah because you still need to take truma. Kamash Balon, that since the Levi came very early and he took it before the chiyuv truma was chal, so the owner never took truma, and the Levi doesn't need to take truma. And therefore, it doesn't need truma from anybody, and therefore that's why this ma'isa is not muktzah, and you're allowed to move it on Shabbos. Or ma'isa sheni v'chulu, you're allowed to move ma'isa sheni. Pshita, of course, you're allowed to. What's wrong with it? When a person redeems ma'isa sheni, he has to give a fifth extra. If he doesn't give the fifth extra, it doesn't spoil the redemption. The redemption is valid, only he owes it to Ma'aser Sheni. The Chiddush of our mission that you're allowed to move Ma'aser Sheni is referring to a situation where you haven't paid the fifth, and the Chiddush is that even though you owe the fifth, but the redemption is Chav, and therefore it's not got Muktzah anymore, and therefore you're allowed to move it on Shabbos. Yes, because you can't eat it. What can you do with it? But unless you redeemed it, then it's not Muktzah. I'm just about what you redeemed. But say Yovish Chulu, dry tumas, dafke Yovish, avalach loy, wet tumas not, my time give the more loy ochlo. If it's very bitter, nobody eats it. So wet tumas is bitter, nobody eats it, and therefore one's not allowed to move it on Shabbos. Anything which is very bitter, people won't eat, is forbidden to be touched on Shabbos. That's Kuchav Chesed with Aleph top of the page. You're not allowed to move tevel, pshita. Of course, you're not allowed to touch tevel on Shabbos. It's muktzah. So you need it, but tevel tuvu medu'abonon. We're talking about what's got tevel medu'abonon. We're talking about something which was planted in a plant pot, which has got no holes. It's not a perforated plant pot. So therefore, minat teva, you don't need to take to some isis because it's not considered ever growing. It's considered that it never went in the ground. It's only midrabanan that you have to take to some isis. So you might have thought, since it's only midrabanan, then you take to some isis. Therefore, it should be muktzah, kamash malon, that even though the whole chiyuv to take to some isis is only midrabanan, it's still got a problem of muktzah. You must take ma'aser rishon which has not been redeemed. Ma'aser rishon which you haven't taken to some isis. Pshita, of course no, you can't. It's muktzah. The Levi took it after it was ready a pile. And then afterwards he took from it Maisa. That means he took out of the 10th. But he never took a 4th, 5th, and the 6th. That since in the end of the day he took Tumas Maisa, it should be okay. The fact that he never took Tumas, it doesn't matter. No. If the Levi, there was a Chiddush of our missions like this. The Levi came after the owner was Chayav Tumah. Why was the owner Chayav Tumah? Because it was already a pile. And the Levi came and he took it without letting the owner take Truma. And then the Levi himself never gave Truma. And the Chiddush is that that's considered Muktzah, because since the owner was already Chayav Truma, the Levi should give it Truma on his own accord. And Ma'aser Sheni, which has not been redeemed, is Muktzah. Pshita, of course it's Muktzah, he's not been redeemed. They've been redeemed, but not redeemed correctly. You redeemed it on a coin which has no face. In the olden days, coins were made out of silver or gold. So even if it never had a face, meaning it never had the stamp of the king on, it would still have value. But the Torah says when you redeem Ma'aser Sheni, you have to redeem it on a coin that actually has an image on it, because it's not considered a real coin. So therefore, if you redeem it on an asimo, that in the end of the day, that's not considered redeemed, and that's the Chiddush of our Mishnah. The Mishnah says that it's muktzah because it's not been redeemed. We're not discussing a case where it's not been redeemed at all, because in such a case, of course, it's muktzah. We're talking about a case that's been redeemed, but not redeemed properly. Why was it not redeemed properly? Because it didn't have an image on it. It was just a plain piece of silver. And the Pasuk says, the word tzarto, without it has to have an image. He redeemed it on property. You have to redeem it with money, not property. If a person redeems hekdesh with property, with land, then the redemption is not chal. And the chiddush of our Mishnah is that the pidyon is not chal, and therefore it's muktzah. It says more weiter. But loif is a kind of herb. It's a kind of grass. Because the deer eat it. They're allowed to touch mustard with because pigeons eat it. Ostriches, they eat broken glass. It helps the digestive system. It seems, I actually read somewhere, that there are certain birds that eat pebbles because it helps them digest the food. And this is what the Gemara means over here. That a person is allowed to move broken glass because if he has an ostrich, it helps him digest it. Says the Gemara, so therefore it's considered usable. They don't ostriches? Oh, so see the Gemara right. According to your logic, that anything which is edible for an animal is not muktzah, all wood should not be muktzah, because a person might have elephants, and if he has elephants, Elephants eat wood. So therefore, if that's the case, anything should not be muktzah. So he said, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, nom yeshchichi, ostriches are common, pirin yeshchichi, elephants are not so common. Omar, name of wood is, you have to own ostriches. Only then it's not muktzah. If you don't own ostriches, it is muktzah. So Bo says, no, that can't be. When he said you're allowed to carry bundles of wood because elephants can eat it, if a person actually owns elephants, so indeed it should be muktzah because indeed he uses it. Of course, we're talking about a person who does not own elephants and he has no ostriches either. And the machlokes is as follows: everybody agrees that which is fitting for the elephant, since the person doesn't own an elephant. And it's very rare to own an elephant, everybody agrees it's muktzah. But when it comes to ostriches, that's the machlokes. Sugar Mill says that since some people have ostriches, therefore everybody's allowed to carry these things on Shabbos because they're not muktzah, because some people own ostriches. Another to them say, wait a second, who owns ostriches? Only royalty, only the rare kind of few. Those people, for them it's not muktzah, but for the vast majority it is muktzah. I just want to finish off because there's a new Gemara by the end of the bottom thin line. It's a very easy Gemara. Omar Abai, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, these four Tanoim, Kulu Svurlahu, they all hold, Kolisob de Malachim, that all of Kaisal of royalty. That means all of these four Tanoim have one common theme. That Kaisal are like kings, and since like kings, therefore they are entitled to certain halachas which royalty are entitled. Rabbi Shimon just said, what does Shimon just say? That every single person is allowed to carry broken glass. Why? In case he has an ostrich. Who owns ostriches? Only kings. So you see, Rabbi Shimon holds that everybody potentially is a king. Rabbi Shimon Ditznan, we had earlier, that a king is allowed to use rose oil on Shabbos. Why? Because since all kings use rose oil, so therefore kings are allowed to use. Since kings use rose oil, everybody's allowed to, not just kings. So, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, the Tanya, if a person owes money and he says, I can't afford it, I can't afford to pay, what do we do? What do you do if a person says, I can't pay? So we have to sell everything he owns. But we keep him his basic needs. I've sat at the Torah, and it's one of the most unfortunate things that people say, and you sit on the base and you go to the Hodin Torah, a person owes money, he says, I can't pay. And then the person who can't pay flies to Eretz Yisrael for the summer holidays, he goes to sukkahs to. So it's not right. In fact, as what's the turn of there, Bonan Dayanim said, if you can't afford it, stop making Kiddush Friday night. What should you do? Instead of making Kiddush on wine Friday night, you can use Chalakas, but you don't need to make Kiddush on Friday night. What should you do is, you make Kiddush without wine, and then use the wine, the money which you save, £1 a week or £5 a week on wine, give it. People don't do it because nobody can be bothered chasing the $5 a week. But he said also, don't light Hanukkah candles, because when that dinner, you need to light one candle every night. Save the money. But unfortunately, people of it now. What happens if a person's only got one shirt? We don't take away his shirt. And what happens if that shirt is a very, very expensive shirt? So that's the machlekas tanon. Do we trade it in? That's the machlekas. Oh, so it was like this. The Tana Rishlish, where if a person owes 1,000 mona, it's lobasmea mona, and he owns a coat which is worth 100 mona. It's the royal. We take off that shirt and we give him one which is fitting for him, a cheap one. So we don't do that. All of Klal Yisrael are royalty. So there are 4 Tanoim that hold that all of Klal Yisrael are royalty. We don't pass like them, I'm afraid to say. So therefore, you have to sell away your suit and buy yourself, instead of wear your hat, wear a cap. You can even use davening with a cap just as well. If you can't afford to pay, you have to pay. So, but there are 4 Tanoim that hold that Klal Yisrael are royalty. The one who says that you can feed the ostriches on Shabbos even if you don't own them. The one who says you're allowed to use rose oil. And the one who says that you're allowed to, that you don't have to sell your expensive cloak for a cheap one, because all of Klal Yisrael deserve a royal coat. Okay. Oh, tomorrow's Shiur, thank you. Tomorrow's Shiur will be uploaded online. I hope you manage to get a hold of it. And then on Shabbos, Tony is going to tell everybody what time is the Shiur going to be on. 8:25. What's 8 10 past 9. It's going to be a shorter Shiur. Full time is 8:25 minutes from Shabbos. Look forward to seeing you. And everybody should